So the first thing I want to do is trim down this neck extension piece. It is still on the toothpick, and I'm just using the X-Acto knife and carving down this clay. It's baked now, so it's a little bit hard, so I'm just carving it down to make it as thin as I can, because I want this to be buried in the torso. It's going to give it a little bit more stability. Okay. Now, I'm just going to get sort of a sizing here. I'm going to take the front and the back of the torso, and using my dental tool, I'm going to drag down and make a channel to fit around the twisted wire. Do it on the front and the back. Okay. So I'm going to just gently push these together so I can get a sizing here. Okay, and I'm going to take the toothpick out of the head. I've got to figure out, first I need a scissor. I've got to figure out how much of the head is going to be inserted on the wire. It looks like it's about 1 inch. So I want to cut this down to about 1 inch over the torso. But because I want the extension buried, I'm going to have to take a little bit more off. Now keep in mind, this is probably the hardest part of the whole project. So you're just going to finagle this until you get it attached properly, because you want it to be properly sized and scaled. Okay. I think that this skewer is too big here, so let's cut down this bamboo skewer. That's going to help us attach the front to the back a little bit easier. Okay. There we go, it should fit now. Okay, now the front and the back torso are really operating now as attachment pieces. We're going to have to build these up as soon as the head is attached. But at least you'll have a general idea of what you're going to be sculpting. Okay, so just beginning with your dental tool, you're going to blend the clay together. This is all covered on the online courses or the Fairy Dolls DVD. And you're going to take little, small pancakes of clay and build up the waist area, the back area. Keep an eye on making sure the spinal area is straight, and you're just going to, one little pancake at a time, build it up. Be especially careful up in the neck area. Okay, you want to build that up, and you want to hide the little extension piece that you had. That little extension is going to give it a little bit of stability, but you want it to look like a natural neckline. So this is going to take some time. Okay, we're using the tricks of video to sort of cut through this area, but it's going to take you a little bit more time to perfect this area, especially if it's going to show as part of the costume. Now I'm making a channel for the arms. I'm using a toothpick and just boring from one side to the other a hole through the torso area. We're going to put a piece of twisted wire as we attach the arms and the hands later on. So right now I'm just going to keep a toothpick there. Anytime I bake the doll, I'm going to twist it to make sure that I can remove it at all times. And at this point I'm going to fit it onto the base and give it a final pose, and then I'll bake it. Bake the doll for 10 minutes at 250 degrees, allow it to cool fully, and then sand the doll according to the lessons learned in the online course or the DVDs. now that the doll is baked, as you can see, the toothpick is still removable. We're going to learn how to make the clogs. And I'm going to be using black polymer clay. Just roll up a little ball of polymer clay. Just a tiny little bit. Just going to make it into about the size of a bottom of a flip-flop and place it on the bottom of each of the feet. And what you're going to be doing is kind of sculpting it onto the bottom of the foot to make it look like the bottom of a clog. On the foot that has the skewer, you're going to have to kind of sculpt it around that skewer, allowing the skewer to still stick out so it can stick into the base. This foot has a slightly pointed toe, but because the doll is baked, it's easy to just form the bottom of the clog to fit the foot. Okay, so that's the bottom of the clogs. I'm just going to make sure it fits and still stands, which it does. Okay, if it gets smashed out of place, you can just fix it again. And now to make the top of the clogs, I'm just going to flatten out a little bit of clay. I'm using a non-stick piece of paper. You can use wax paper or parchment if you don't have this. Using the side of a big pen just to flatten it out, and then just cutting two little strap-sized pieces to lay over the top of the foot. And then very gingerly just lay them across the foot, attaching them to the sides. And once you have your straps on, you're going to put it back into the oven and bake it at 250 degrees for 5 minutes.